Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Well, guys, we have our first case. We have it in Colorado. Colorado man becomes the first human case of bird flu in the USA. Man in Colorado, unidentified, who is younger than 40, tested positive for the H5 variant of the bird flu, the CDC announced on Thursday. The variant has prompted farmers to euthanize and dispose of millions of poultry. And this is just horrible, as we're going to see. The guides are warning us or telling us to pay attention to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was a marked difference. They're saying, watch this, keep an eye on this. So.
Yeah, now, I'm not sure. Did you get that as far as the potential for human transmission, or did you get it as far as just going to be another big notch in the disaster that's the food supply?
You know, it's a little bit of both. So that's something that we need to keep an eye on, is both of those aspects. Like, we don't have enough to worry about, right? Yeah, definitely watch both, because this is something that could, ultimately spread. And then, of course, yeah, it's a huge blow to the food chain.
Absolutely. U.S. egg factory roast alive 5.3 million chickens in avian flu cull, and then fires almost every worker. Laborers at one of the world's largest egg factories arrived at a plant in Rembrandt, Iowa, early one morning in March to discover they were about to go work themselves out of a job. As they gathered at the huge barns housing stacks of caged hens, the workers were told to forget about the usual routine of collecting eggs and feeding the birds. Overnight, the factory had begun slaughtering more than 5 million chickens, using a gruesome killing method after detecting a single case of avian influenza. Is this not throwing the baby out with the bathwater? When they cull millions and millions for like one case. Mm-hmm. It just seems absolutely illogical to me.
I mean, it's just jaw-dropping. You know, I mean, these birds are birds. They're beings. They have feelings, and they're treating them just like, you know, they're nothing. And I can't believe that. And imagine, you know, of course the trauma for the chickens, but then also the workers. They're going through that because they're having to do this thing, and I'm sure that didn't feel good at all.
The culling has been repeated at chicken and turkey farms across Iowa and 28 other states from Maine to Utah. More than 22 million birds have been killed in an attempt to contain the outbreak, the majority in Iowa, which is the U.S.'s biggest producer of eggs. It's just brutal. They spent nearly a month pulling the dead poultry from cages and dumping them into carts before they were piled high in nearby fields and buried in huge pits. This just feels so neonazi-ish in every sense of the reason. Here we see fires have accounted for more than a third of the world's tree cover losses last year, the largest share on record. And right now, guys, just when we're talking about fires, two places very near and dear to our hearts that we're very familiar with. Las Vegas, Cindy called Nevada home for what, 20-something years?
Long time. Mm-hmm.
A long time. And it was home for both of us together for about 18 months. And you can see the smoke from Calf Canyon and Hermit's Peak fires. We know these areas well. And boy, when we went to visit family a few years back when the fires were raging, it felt very, very scary and apocalyptic.
It looked like Mars, literally.
Northern New Mexico villagers prepare to flee as winds are whipping up the wildfires. This is in Mora, New Mexico, and Mora's a tiny little town. Again, we know it very well. We have friends there. Yeah, this is, again, one of those spots that is so good, probably, for these times. You know, one of my top choices if it wasn't for the drought and the wildfires. And, we looked in this area. This area is too expensive for us. We couldn't find anything, but this was a target zone for us. And we were living a little bit more to the southeast of this in New Mexico, closer to the Arizona border. But at the same time, we do have friends in this area, several different friends, and we've visited them and stayed in this area. It's absolutely gorgeous, breathtaking gorgeous, and very small, and it's just where you want to survive these times. Unless there's wildfires coming and knocking, then, again, you got to be ready to go. And like some of our friends that are in that area, they are the most prepared people we know of. Yes, they have domes that can withstand 300 plus mile-an-hour winds, earthbag domes. They have 100 and something acres of land. They have grain stores up the wazoo. They have greenhouses. They're ready for Armageddon. Mm-hmm. And yet, what could you do if you're surrounded by wildfires?
I know, right?
It's just one of those things. So 35 miles northeast of Santa Fe, near the village of Ledue, flames from the Calf Canyon fire ripped through the forest as high winds blew embers over a mile, spreading a wildfire that scorched about 66,000 acres, 103 square miles, in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Since April 6th, this thing's been burning a bit. And then a couple miles north in Mora, elevation 71, 72 feet. There's some peaks up there that are over 9,000 feet. And, it's just sad to see this. But again, in the west, and it's creeping, we're going to cover it. It's creeping eastward. It's really becoming more of a major problem as far as the drought goes. And drought is severely impacting winter wheat in Kansas. As we were saying, it's heading to become more of a, it's starting to hit the farm belt through Kansas and other areas in Texas, western Texas, very, very dry as well. So the latest crop progress and condition report from USDA says the crop is rated at 20% good to 26% good to excellent. 49% of the crop has just joined 16% behind last year. That's one of the things that we see when we start looking at all the data is that everything is behind last year. Everything is behind last year, and the prices are going up, up, up. Heat wave scorches India's wheat crop, snagging export plans. Again, this is exactly what Dave Devine, Adapt 2030, has been talking about the whole time we've known him, like 5 years now, that we've known Dave. The countries that have will stop exporting. And then if you don't have, a lot of people are going to go hungry, and then a lot of people are going to get angry, and then all of a sudden you will have regime changes.
Oh yeah, it's nothing that looks really pretty at all.
And meanwhile, a heat wave is triggering an Indian power crisis as state firms seek Russian crude to secure supplies. India is one of those G20 members not bowing down to U.S. pressure to halt purchases of Russian energy products. The South Asian country's grid is dominated by fossil fuels, particularly coal and crude, and has come under severe stress. It's one of the worst heat waves in years, has caused widespread blackouts and devastating heat. Temperatures 104 Fahrenheit and higher. As you see, those dark colors, those are not good. And, it's either drought or it's too much water. Over in Brazil, top farmer in Brazil is going to slash fertilizer usage by 25% amid shortage. So again, production is declining. It's just a perfect storm. And there again, that's why today, we planted like 50, 60 plants in the ground. And so, and we're just starting to roll, and we're going to start to get other stuff going from seed and be ready to replace anything as soon as possible and squeak things in wherever we possibly could, utilize every inch we possibly can of this, 0.2 of an acre. And so the outlook for principal field crops in Canada is not good. And we just look at one summary after another. Everything is pretty much going down, 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 and that's making prices go up, up, up. We'll have all the links for you guys too, so you can see everything's running behind the 5-year average. Wheat, corn, rapeseed, barley, soybean, sunflower seeds, Grains, U.S. wheat, corn rise as weather threatens crops, soy eases. It's all leading to really troubled times for most people. And again, Cindy was talking in the terms of World War II, saying, because we just did a video that we put up on EEARTS where this one's going to go, calling it a victory garden. And maybe it's a victory over geoengineering and grand solar minimum.
Yeah, I think so. That's kind of what we're fighting against.
Absolutely. U.S. hard red winter wheat and drought add supply concerns as the drought is expanding. And I'll have all the links for you guys, as we were saying. Actually, the PDF over here, there's a 30-page PDF right here. This from the USDA.gov, gets into all the highlights, and basically there's very little positive. And one of the things, again, that we had mentioned before is some of the areas, like, do you know that Florida is one of the states that has the most wildfires? And you wouldn't even think, you always think Florida rain, right? But, in the summer, it unless we're getting a hurricane or a tropical storm, not always the case. And you can see there's a lot of Florida in red right here. And as we were saying, Louisiana, a big chunk of Louisiana is in red. Look at Texas. Look at Texas. That's almost the entire state that's either red or orange. Mm-hmm. And of course, New Mexico and Arizona, they're totally red. Same thing with a big chunk of Colorado. So the precipitation is not coming. That is obviously not good. 14-year high as far as the pricing, as floods devastate the northern plains. So we have drought down low and we have floods up high. Mm-hmm. Welcome to North Dakota. As you see the snow on the ground. And again, in these times with the technology we have, it would really make me think there's really no reason for this. And Lake Mead plummets to unprecedented low, exposing the original 1971 water intake valve. The west is getting drier. Before long, it won't be long before we're seeing those dust bowl conditions. Some say they're already starting to manifest. Underwater volcano in Antarctica triggers 85,000 earthquakes. This swarm was the strongest seismic outburst ever recorded in Antarctica, and this is in a area where this volcano has been dormant for a very, very long time. So this could be something interesting, and the guides did say this was something to watch.
It is. There's a feeling of anger. There's a feeling of energy build up here. So this is something that could get a little worse.
Venezuela fatalities and evacuations after floods hit several states. And again, every time we look at this, you always see that they're always talking about the livestock and the crops have all been damaged. Way too perfect a storm, if you ask me. Strain of honeybee bred to fight back against parasites survives much better than the standard commercial colonies, even under the stressful conditions of industrial scale pollinating. So again, this is a GMO honeybee, and I don't want any GMO honey. I don't want GMO anything. And again, the world is so backwards when it should be that things are marked GMO, and otherwise it should just simply be organic. It's the exact opposite. Just like when we talk about alternative medicine and conventional medicine, the conventional medicine is the new kid on the block in the long-term scheme of things. The alternative is what was for thousands of years.
I know. We're supposed to be able to heal naturally, but they're changing everything about our bodies, everything about nature, just trying to take us away from that Mother Nature way of being.
And there was a meteor that exploded over Louisiana this week, and a massive fireball was seen in 3 states. Shockwaves shook houses on the ground. This bright fireball was seen by more than 30 witnesses in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas. We didn't see it or hear anybody talk about anything, but this is a little bit away from us. The fireball was reported at 8:03 a.m. Wednesday, reportedly moved parallel to the Mississippi River. It was speeding southwest at 55,000 miles an hour, breaking into pieces as it descended deeper into the Earth's atmosphere. It's thought to have been an asteroid fragment that was about a foot in diameter, weighed about 90 pounds. Satellites picked up several bright flashes from the fireball. NASA said with the first one spotted about 54 miles above the river near Alcorn in Mississippi and disintegrated over a Louisiana swamp. Oh, the swamps in the bayou. Boy, that's cryptid type stuff, and I love those cryptid stories.
Yeah, it just a fireball, that's it.
Yeah, and we're very familiar with this area too. And things you should definitely do during a solar eclipse. Solar eclipses usher in new beginnings. So you should think of the August 21st solar eclipse. Oh, this is an old article. Sorry, guys. This is not the one. But, maybe I was brought up for a reason, because we do have an eclipse tomorrow.
We sure do.
Yeah.
Moon, I think.
And the eclipse is in Aries.
Yep. A lot of change.
But it's also centered over South America and Antarctica. But it's fascinating because it's weird, because this article has been acting weird the whole time I had it up. And that August 21st, 2017 eclipse, to me, that's the start of our tribulation period in so many ways.
I know. That was when I had such an extreme experience with the vibration. It's like my whole body knew the vibration had changed. And I think a lot of this happens when we have these eclipses. It's a time to be out. I feel we should feel that energy shift.
Yeah, I was in Sarasota, Florida at that time, and just a little while after that would be evacuating from the hurricane Irma that was coming, and then find myself camping in New Mexico as we took a trip just to avoid the hurricane. And that was really the biggest eye-opener, I think, in so many ways, because it took me like over 12 hours to get from Sarasota to getting out of Florida and into Alabama. And it shouldn't take even close to those 12 hours to do that ride. But it was just like a parking lot on the highway. So if there is some sort of big natural event, it's a good idea to have routes mapped and to know what's going to take when everybody is trying to escape an area at one time. And then this article, which hasn't been wanting to open, which is really weird, is from CNET. And this article, see, it's not coming up. See, I clicked on it, but it's not coming up. And I don't think they want us talking about it. But it's all about building blocks of DNA that they found inside of meteorites. So it's talking about panspermia and the fact that there's life out there. It's abundant, and it's actually being seeded from place to place, often through meteorites.
I know. Isn't that exciting? We just keep learning a little bit of more and more and more information as we move on. Things that we couldn't even imagine or dream of when we were younger.
No, but it's life is so abundant. It's just the norm. And again, this is part of that opening ourselves up to think out of the boxes. Because, if we're in a medieval box and we think that the earth is the earth's the center of the universe, everything revolves around the earth, which is what you had to believe in medieval times. Otherwise, you could have been called a heretic and executed by the church. No, it's not the case at all. And even when we're talking about densities, right here, right now, chances are there's beings all around you that you cannot see, but they're there. They're all around you. You're never really, truly alone. Never. Consciousness abounds. All that there really, truly is consciousness. And life abounds.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. So as always, guys, we want to thank you for your support over on Patreon and also on Ko-Fi. We couldn't do it without you. Do use coupon code EEA and get a discount over at Medicinal Foods. And it does supply yourself with a discount as well. And do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com to learn more about us. If you need to make an appointment with us, you can reach us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. Much love. Stay prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.